Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Between the 20s, the official podcast of the University of Chicago Sports Business Association. I, Michael Vetter, here with Bryce Weisholtz and Amer Mansour, and you may notice we have changed our production technique a little bit. We are recording from the One Button Studio in the Regenstein Library, in the basement of the Regenstein Library at the University of Chicago, coming at you from where we all met. This came together and the Sports Business Association was started. We are very pleased to be with you. Guys, how are you doing heading into week 6 of the NFL season? I should mention as well, there's going to be a podcast where we discuss start-sit decisions heading into week 6. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing good. New recording studio. We're upgrading. We got big time goals for this recording studio. Hope it all goes well.
Feels good to be back on campus, boys. It's good to see your faces, not just do this over the computer again. A little sad, Giants lost to your Patriots yesterday, but
Patriots.
Live and learn, and we get over it. Jerry Jeudy, here we come. But let's get this going.
It was 14-0 at some point.
So. It was. They're down one score with 6 minutes to go in the third quarter.
And then the punter kicked it off his own guy. So, yeah.
That just encapsulates the Giants. Oh, my God.
But yes, we are here all face-to-face, no longer headphone only. We are in vivo for right now. But anyway, our start-sit decisions, we have 8 coming at you this week. Hard-hitting, going to get you thinking about your fantasy campaign. Let us know if you have any questions. Reach out to us at our email. You'll find all of that in the description of the video on YouTube. Anyway, the first question comes from a listener in a 12-team PPR league. They're looking to fill their flex spot. They have 2 wide receivers they're thinking about. First, DJ Moore, whose Panthers are taking on Tampa Bay, and Courtland Sutton, whose Broncos are taking on the Titans.
Bryce, what do you think?
I'm going to go Sutton here. Sutton's been on a tear recently. DJ Moore's working with Kyle Allen. He's been good, but iffy of late. Also, they're traveling to London. I don't like it all that much. The Tampa D has been okay. I'm going to ride the hot end here and go Courtland Sutton. I think he's going to have a better week, particularly because this is PPR and DJ Moore's cash percentage has not been that high.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Courtland Sutton, big week last week. He's had a couple good weeks so far. Looks like he's got a connection with Joe Flacco. We don't have to get into Joe Flacco. But for Courtland Sutton, he's been good for fantasy purposes. DJ Moore's been a bit up and down. He's had some good games, had some bad games. Not projecting a really good game for him this coming week. As Bryce said, it's in London. And I'm still not completely sold on Kyle Allen, so we'll see how that works out. But Courtland Sutton's my pick for this listener.
For those of you still wondering, those of you in Baltimore, Joe Flacco is not elite. In case you're curious.
Never was.
My friends in Baltimore, they still think he is.
Never was.
You have friends in Baltimore.
I do have friends in Baltimore.
Very far-reaching.
I know.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Courtland Sutton. I think you guys really put all the logic into there already. Totally agree. I think DJ Moore, probably a more steady player throughout the course of the season, but Courtland Sutton has been the hot hand in recent weeks. Definitely think you got to go Sutton. Yeah. All right, now heading into our second start-sit decision of the week. This one is going to take some time. Tune in here. We have a bunch, and it's a pick 2 question. Very inventive listener in a 12-team PPR league. They have Stefon Diggs, Brandon Cooks, Mecole Hardman, Curtis Samuel, and Austin Ekeler. Which 2 are you gents going with?
So this is a long question, as Mike said. But I think definitely you should roll with Austin Ekeler. It's a PPR league. He's going to get a ton of targets, ton of receptions in that 12-team league. And beyond that, this is pretty much a pickup for me between Stefon Diggs and Brandon Cooks. I think since Cooks has been upgraded to probable this week, he did have a concussion, but it looks like he's going to play this weekend. I think Cooks is the pick. If Cooks doesn't play, though, I think Stefon Diggs is a pretty good option this week. Not great since he hasn't had a great season so far, but it's hard to trust Stefon Diggs. But I think Brandon Cooks is the guy, along with Austin Ekeler, for this listener.
Yes, this is a pick 2. I'm going to assume at least one of these spots is a flex because we have running backs and receivers in here. I'm very big on running backs in the flex spot, guaranteed touches. I'm with you on the first one. Austin Ekeler, definitely play. 16 targets, I think, last week, 15 receptions, 10 in the first half.
Yeah.
And the formula seemed to work, too, for the opposing defense. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets replicated by Pittsburgh this week. So Austin Ekeler is one of my guys. I'm actually going to flip from you, Amer, a little bit on this one. I have a feeling about Stefon Diggs this week. I just do. Brandon Cooks has not looked good. He didn't look good last week. He has had 10 days to recover. They played on Thursday night. But I don't know if you guys saw the concussion. It was pretty bad. He went shoulder into the helmet, and he just went down, no feeling in his body. It looked pretty bad. He might be out there as a decoy for Kupp and Woods, who have both looked better, particularly Cooper Kupp. Stephon Diggs, the guy's due. I know it's the gambler's fallacy and everything. He's got 1 touchdown this year. The Eagles' secondary is not very good, and they're going to throw because the Eagle run defense is among the tops in the league. Adam Thielen had a good week last week. I would assume they're going to put Ronald Darby on him this week to keep him in check, opening up Diggs for a little bit more. It's risky, but I'm going to go Austin Eckler in the flex spot and then Stephon Diggs in either the receiver or the other flex spot there.
Yeah, I definitely think you guys identified the two sort of. I think there's 2 tiers to this question. The first one I think is Eckler, Diggs, and Cooks, and then I think Hardman and Samuel are on a lower tier. So I definitely think you're picking between those 3. I agree with Eckler as he's the one you definitely have to pencil in here. You get the running back who's getting touches, even though Melvin Gordon's situation is always a little bit up in the air, always in transition. But I'm going to side with Bryce here, where I think you got to go Diggs against Philadelphia. I mean, he said, as Bryce said, gambler's fallacy, Diggs coming back, but regression to the mean. You expect Diggs to be better. If he will be better, because if you drafted him at that spot, very little has changed in that offense over time. They were very rush heavy in the first few weeks, but I think teams are going to react to that, start playing the rush, and then they're going to start passing the ball. Then you're going to see Thielen and things opening up for Thielen and Diggs. A slow start doesn't necessarily mean a bad fantasy season. A slow start just means that you are probably going to expect returns given that nothing has changed. Granted, there are situations where things change, like O.J. Howard, our favorite, and Darren Waller at the tight end position. But I think so far things in Minnesota have been relatively status quo, no large injuries there. So I think you've got to go Diggs there against Philadelphia. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, you're always kind of trying to pick one of those 3 receivers who's going to be hot that week. Cooper Kupp has been much better than the other 2 options so far this season. So I think you're definitely, Kupp is kind of the option there in the number 1 receiver. And I think also Woods is there, as opposed to Diggs, who just has to share targets with Thielen. So I'm going to go Eckler and Diggs in this pick too.
The one thing that does scare me, though, Cook has been stopped in 1 game so far. That was against Chicago.
Yep.
They didn't look good at all. Like, when Kirk Cousins had to pass, that was the game plan for the Bears. Make Kirk Cousins pass, and it worked. He did not look good. Granted, the Bear defense is vastly better, or at least the Bear secondary is vastly better than the Eagle secondary. So I think it'll be a different story. But that is something to keep in mind if you are a little bit wary on that. You can start Cooks. He'll be a safer bet, I think. But I think Stephon Diggs is going to have more of an output, more of a high this week. But I am curious to see your guys' takes on Mecole Hardman. Sammy Watkins is hurt. Tyreek Hill is not guaranteed to come back. It's going to be a shootout against Houston. If Watkins is ruled out and Hill is ruled out, Hardman might be the number 1 from Patrick Mahomes. Can that be passed up on if both guys are ruled out?
Yeah. I don't think you can trust. You don't know which Chiefs wide receiver is going to get it done. Of course, you're starting Travis Kelce. He's been pretty good so far, like tight end 3 so far. But in terms of their wide receivers, you don't know who's going to go off. Last week they had some guy named Pringle score a touchdown. Like, you just can't predict what's going to happen.
Was it regular or sour cream and onion?
Salt and vinegar, my friend.
Ooh.
But with that, you just don't know which Chiefs wide receiver is going to be great. You just kind of got to bet on who's going to get the 40-yard touchdown, which is tough to do. So I think these other 2 guys are definitely safer options, definitely better. And just going back to Stephon Diggs against Chicago, you said they struggled, but in that game, the one player that was good for the Vikings was Stephon Diggs. He had, I think, 8 receptions for 108 yards. So if they stop the run, if Philly's able to stop Minnesota's run, we'll see. Maybe Stephon Diggs has a good week, so maybe you guys are right on this.
Please, I really need to get paid off for not trading him. I need this, just for, like, my sanity.
I agree, though. It's hard to predict which team is going to be good on a week-to-week basis at the wide receiver position. Yeah. But also at running back, I'd say.
Just the Chief. The only Chief you can predict is Patrick Mahomes anymore.
Travis Kelce, you got to start him, but
yeah, it's true. All right, now heading into our third start-sit question. This listener is in an 8-team half PPR league. They're looking to fill a flex spot. They have Matt Breida going up against the Los Angeles Rams, Joe Mixon going up against the Ravens, Will Fuller, who, as we talked about, his Texans are going up against the Chiefs, and Robert Woods whose Rams are going up against San Francisco. Who do you like?
This is an interesting question. Woods and Fuller are the better players than Breida and I think Mixon anyway. I'm not a big Mixon fan. But Fuller's coming off that big game. I don't anticipate that to happen again. They're going to use DeAndre Hopkins at some point. Robert Woods, if Cooper Kupp is out, sorry, not Cooper Kupp, if Brandon Cooks is out and something changes, definitely Woods. I'm going to go with Mixon. Mixon is guaranteed touches. Again, this flex spot, big on running back in the flex. Matt Breida is in a timeshare, looked really, really good against the Browns, but he had 5 fewer carries than Tevin Coleman, which was very surprising. Yep. And he was only efficient on one of them, that 83-yard score. I think Matt Breida, if anything, is just a sell high this week. I saw that happen in one of my leagues. Great trade. Got DeAndre Hopkins for him with the package.
Yeah, sure.
But
with the package.
If Cooks is ruled out, then definitely go Woods. But I'm going to say here, go Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with that. If Cooks is out, I think Woods is the play, but looks like Cooks is going to play, so looks like it's going to be Joe Mixon for me. I guess I take Joe Mixon over Matt Breida just because Breida, as Bryce said, was out-touched by Tevin Coleman on Monday night. And, of course, Joe Mixon has no competition in that Bengals backfield. And the Ravens have seemed to be a little bit weaker on defense than you normally think.
Oh, you mean weaker than against the Dolphins?
Of course.
They gave a huge game to Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Huge game.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nick Chubb ran all over this Ravens defense. They've been pretty weak against the run so far. Their secondary is the strength of their team in terms of defense. So we'll see about that. But I think Joe Mixon's the play this week. Of course, Will Fuller could have a great week again. He's always a boom or bust guy. But I think if you're going for safety and you're going for a good amount of upside, I think Joe Mixon's your guy this week.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Mixon. In his last 3 games, he has set 60 or more rushing yards in each of them. Yet to find the end zone rushing. He found the end zone passing in week 3. But other than the first 2 games where he scored less than 10 points in a PPR format, he's put up more than 10 points in each of those last 3 weeks. So I think Mixon is the play. As you said, you're getting touches with Mixon, whereas at the wide receiver position, much more variable, and I think Breida isn't on the same tier as Mixon. So I definitely agree with the Mixon call.
Let's remember what happened to Joe Mixon and his slow start was because of the injury he sustained in week 1. I believe it was an ankle diving into the end zone.
Correct.
That contributed to it. Last week, I think he had 93 yards against Arizona, something like that, on 14 or 15 carries. In a game where they were behind, so that's a negative game script for them. I just think Joe Mixon's, he's got to play here, especially now that he's healthy.
All right, moving on to our next question. We can no longer say that we want a running back because this is a running back question. So can't take a running back with a wide receiver here. In a 12-team PPR, we're looking for a running back 2. Carlos Hyde, who is going up against Kansas City this week, or Chase Edmonds with the David Johnson situation in Arizona. The Cardinals are going up against the Falcons. Gents, who do you like?
Yeah, so if you haven't heard, David Johnson is questionable going into this Sunday game. He tweaked his back last Sunday, and they've been managing that this week. He's been limited. Actually, he's been out of practice on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see about Friday. I predict he'll be limited practice Friday. That will still mean a questionable injury designation going forward. So if he doesn't play, I think this is clearly Chase Edmonds. He'll get all the carries. He still gets a good amount of touches even when David Johnson does play. So with David Johnson limited or out, I think Chase Edmonds is the play here. If David Johnson plays and he's a full go, I do like Carlos Hyde this week just because I think that this Houston-Kansas City game is going to be a shootout. He's got a chance for a touchdown. He is their goal line guy, and he is their number 1 running back. So I think as the Colts showed last week, you can run on this Kansas City defense, and that's kind of the way to beat them. So I think that Houston's going to try to do a similar thing with Carlos Hyde, so I think he's going to get some touches. I think he has a good chance for a touchdown. So if David Johnson's a full go, I'm definitely taking Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, this one just kind of bothers me. We're looking at the 2 running backs, or the 2 lower tier running backs than Devonta Freeman and I guess LaShawn McCoy and Damian Williams, in the 2 biggest shootouts of this week, most likely, in Houston, Kansas City, and Atlanta, Arizona. It's going to be about who's going to score. If David Johnson is out, I totally agree. Chase Edmonds, he put one in from 30 out last week, 29 to 30 yards. He looks good. He's a solid running back. Kyler Murray has only improved as the year has gone along. he'll be the play if David Johnson is doubtful or worse. David Johnson's questionable, though. And this is where I'm a little bit iffy, because I think David Johnson's not going to come into the game 100% healthy. I think he's going to play, but I don't think he's going to be 100%. And because we don't know what the carry share is going to look like between the two, I'm a little uncomfortable playing Edmonds. Edmonds might have certainly has a higher ceiling than Carlos Hyde, particularly receiving in a PPR league. But unless we know what the share is going to be between them, I can't play Chase Edmonds without knowing if David Johnson's going to play or not. And as you said, Amer, Hyde's got his best shot maybe of the season to score multiple touchdowns. Yep. As a touchdown-dependent flex, you're looking for good matchups. So, Carlos Hyde. Mike?
Was Halloween is about 2 weeks away.
You getting scared?
Is it story time?
A little scary.
Spooky.
It's time for trick or treat. And you know, there's always in a haunted house, always somebody sneaking up. You know what Carlos Hyde is doing? He's sneaking up the running back consistency rankings. Carlos Hyde has just been a solid play. Week 3, he played the Chargers. That was his worst week when in a full PPR league he got 8.9 points, and that was only because he found the end zone. Sure, but that's his worst week. His best week is 13 points. That, to me, sounds like a very good dot with some very small error bars around it. That's very positive. If I can guarantee that I'm getting 10 points from my running back 2, I'm very happy about that, and I think Carlos Hyde offers that. I don't, this week, want to play around with Chase Edmonds and David Johnson maybe, or maybe you're not playing. I definitely agree with Bryce in that he's probably going to suit up, which leaves you as a fantasy owner in sort of a bit of a question state. And I think if you're questioning that, you definitely got to go Carlos Hyde. Unless David Johnson is just ruled out, you got to go Carlos Hyde because you don't know how things are going to work out in Arizona. Hyde is your man. He's a 10-point machine. And I think the machine is once again going to deliver, maybe even displace some labor along the way.
You call him Albert Pujols?
Huh?
You call him Albert Pujols, the machine?
Yeah, the machine.
Carlos Hyde, Albert Pujols?
He's gonna displace labor too because most machines do it.
So what Mike's saying is, don't hide from Carlos.
Don't hide from Carlos on Halloween, but displace labor because he's also a truck, so he's just gonna run right through guys.
Oh no!
All right, let's move on.
Okay. Moving on to our next question here. In a 12-team PPR league, we have a quarterback question. Not necessarily specify PPR if you're emailing in about a quarterback question.
Unless you're Tom Brady, my favorite stat ever, Tom Brady is second in NFL history with receiving yards above the age of 40. He is second only to Jerry Rice. GOAT stuff.
That's going to be on his Hall of Fame plaque.
Yeah, it is.
Stat of the week. Anyway, the question, they gave us 3 running backs here. Jameis Winston.
Quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks.
That's right.
Quarterbacks. We have Jameis Winston going up against the Panthers, Carson Wentz going up against the tough Minnesota defense, or Kirk Cousins going up against the Eagles. Wentz's counterpart this week. You like?
It's tough. Ordinarily, if you're looking at the 3 players in a vacuum, it's Carson Wentz out of these 3 any week. But he's going up against a top-tier defense against the pass. I believe the Eagles are number 8. The Vikings are number 8 against the pass this year. Kirk Cousins going up against a very bad Eagles secondary, but he only throws the ball 20, 25 times a game. I don't know if you can trust that. Jameis Winston has looked much better of late, but in his first game against the Panthers, threw for just 208 yards and only 1 touchdown, only threw the ball 25 times. Plus, they're going to London, which always scares me a little bit. They tend to run the ball a little bit more. We saw Josh Jacobs last week against the Bears.
Yep.
That being said, I'm going to go Jameis Winston. He's looked a lot better recently. The Viking defense just shuts down everybody, and I think they're going to try to ground and pound Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders. Jameis Winston has thrown for 300 or more his last 3 games, I believe. Multiple touchdowns in most of those. One of those was against the Giants, to be fair. But he's trending upwards, and I would still go Jameis Winston, even if he is in London, but don't expect too much. Try to pick up a different quarterback in the waiver wire out of these 3 if you can. Maybe a Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I think I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I like Carson Wentz this week out of these 3 guys. They do have tough matchups, all 3 of these guys. I don't think Kirk Cousins should really be mentioned. He's not a great quarterback this year. He's not playing too well. He's really leaning on Dalvin Cook in the run game. So between Jameis Winston and Carson Wentz, I think I'm going to, like I said, go with Carson Wentz. I think he's just a better quarterback. He has a little bit higher of a of a rushing floor. And he's got better weapons. I think obviously Zach Ertz. He's got Alshon Jeffrey. He's got Nelson Aguilar, and he's got those running backs that are pretty good at pass catching. So I'm a little bit concerned about Jameis against Carolina. Carolina's been pretty solid on defense, with the exception of last week. They, as Bryce said, they shut him down. Only 200 yards and a touchdown. You're looking for more from a quarterback than that. So I think Carson Wentz is my pick for this week.
You guys both know who my favorite pop artist is, right?
Taylor Swift.
Exactly. She has a song on her most recent album called London Boy.
Oh, never mind.
London Boy, who this week would be Jameis Winston. But, as much as I love Taylor Swift, fly Eagles fly this week.
You're a Giants fan.
I feel it. I feel Carson Wentz is going to come in and dice up this Minnesota D. I think this game might be a little bit more high scoring than people are expecting. Take the over out there. But, yeah, if that happens, I'm definitely, when it happens, I should say, I'm definitely going Wentz because I feel like this game, when it kind of becomes, if the defenses don't perform as people say they are going to, which I feel like this is going to be a shootout, just my gut feeling. I think that Wentz is the person that you really want to have in this game. Cousins is on a Minnesota team that, as I said, has run the ball a little bit more. They may get some sort of passing game going, but I more rely on the Eagles passing game, which has been much more consistent. You have Zach Ertz, as Amir said. And meanwhile, Jameis Winston going abroad to London. He's studying abroad for a week. Did you know that? Going abroad to London, I don't necessarily trust that. The Panthers D is relatively good. Can never count out Luke Kuechly. The mic in the middle. Stop. Mic in the middle. Wouldn't know. Anyway, moving on to our next question. We have a 10-team standard league where a person's asking about their wide receiver 2. They want to know, another DJ Moore question. Yeah. DJ Moore, whose Panthers are going up against the Bucs in London, or Brandon Cooks, who's going up against San Francisco.
Another Cooks question, too.
Yeah. Like I said, I think if Brandon Cooks plays, you got to roll him out. We were just talking about how London is not very great for the passing game, so DJ Moore loses a little bit of value there this week. I think Brandon Cooks, he still has a great chance to go off for a monster game. I mean, it's Brandon Cooks. He's in a good offense. This is kind of what he does. So I think he's a better play than DJ Moore this week. DJ Moore has also been pretty boom or bust this season, as I said earlier. So I think out of these two guys, Brandon Cooks is the better boom or bust guy. So I'm rolling with Brandon Cooks this week, unless of course he misses, in which case you're kind of forced into playing DJ Moore.
This is a case where scoring absolutely matters. Standard is all about touchdown upside. Brandon Cooks has that more than DJ Moore. Brandon Cooks can always blast off for 80-yard score on the screen. He's just that fast and that elusive. Brandon Cooks right now, you mentioned this earlier, we all mentioned this earlier, he's probable to play even with the injury that he sustained against Seattle last week. I'm going to go agree with you, Amir. Brandon Cooks is the play here, and he just has too much upside to pass up on, in too good of an offense for that matter.
Yep.
If I'm a fantasy owner on Sunday, if I'm a DJ Moore owner on Sunday, I wake up at 9 Eastern time in my bed, turn on the game. I don't want to deal with is he going to get catches? Is he going to get targets? Is he going to get yards? That's the Brandon Cooks problem. And especially coming off an injury, I don't necessarily think that Cooks is going to deliver this week. I think he may be a little bit more of a decoy out there than we are led to believe right now as the Rams take on the Niners. I think that DJ Moore is the number one option out there. And I think that, for as wide receiver, Christian McCaffrey is just the number one option everywhere. Yeah. I heard he's going to start throwing the ball soon. But I feel that Moore is the better option, that you just can kind of put fantasy value in and have trust in the fact that he's going to deliver points. Brandon Cooks, you could come up with 1-2 points. I could see that. Or you could all of a sudden, you could blow up. But I like the probability of Moore having a decent game and Cooks having a game that is worse, even though we may have higher upside this week. So if you're feeling confident in the rest of your lineup this week and you kind of want to take that shot, maybe go Cooks. But if you're just looking for someone to kind of plug in there and have a good week at that position, I'd go Moore.
Makes sense.
Definitely. Did you expect something else?
No.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Next question. We're finally getting to my favorite questions, which are tight end questions. We're in a 12-team PPR league. This individual has 2 tight ends. They're looking to play, thankfully, only one, because if one of these were in the flex spot, they would have a bit of a problem. OJ Howard going up against the Panthers in London. Noah Fant, whose Broncos are taking on Tennessee. Yes, Noah Fant. You did not miss him on our top 50 episode to start the year. He wasn't there, even if you were looking.
There were a lot of guys that weren't there.
How sad is this? We're now talking about O.J. Howard and Noah Fant in the same sentence.
This is coming from the person who said that O.J. Howard he's on the frontier of the second tier.
I said he was the second best option in this offense. I said Chris Godwin was third. Chris Godwin's one.
Freezing cold take.
You know what? You know what? I concede. I lose.
Anyway, what do you think about this week?
I just hate this question.
Yeah, me too.
OJ. I can't trust Noah Fant. At least OJ Howard, is going to get like 2 or 3 targets at a minimum. You hope he takes one to the house. Noah Fant is just, I can't. The Titans are tops against tight ends too. Carolina is as well. It's tough. He's going to have Luke Kuechly on him. I don't know. My only hope is that they're going to have to throw because Christian McCaffrey is going to torch the defense. Then hopefully Howard will get something going. But the one thing that is encouraging is that Bruce Arians is saying that he wants to get him involved more. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
But I can't start. I just can't in good conscience start Noah Fant over O.J. Howard. So I'm going to go O.J. Howard supremely unconfidently.
I think I agree. Both of these are just tough options for this fantasy owner.
Brutal.
This is brutal.
Waivers. Not waivers. Bye weeks.
Yeah, the bye week with Darren Waller. Maybe you should start Darren Waller on the bye over one of these guys. Who knows? But I will also go with O.J. Howard just because there was a reason we were thinking he was going to be good this season. And although we haven't seen it so far, I think there's a better chance you're going to see it from him than you're going to see from Noah Fant. I don't really know what to say about these guys. Both not great options, as we said. Tough stuff for this fantasy owner. So I'm going O.J. Howard, but like I said, not happy about it.
If you want to hear my thoughts on O.J. Howard, you can tune into, episode 6?
Panic Attack?
Yeah.
Panic Attack, yep.
The end of episode 6, where I put O.J. Howard as a 10 out of 10 on the panic meter. He is still there. He might be off the meter. He broke
11.
the meter.
Yeah, I threw him to 15 last week.
Yeah, so now I'm absolutely going Noah Fant this week. I don't want to put...
Wow.
If anything, if I put O.J. Howard in, and he puts up a 0, I'm just going to feel awful. Because I learned my lesson. He did that already. His best game of the year was against the New York Giants. That's poor. That is quite poor.
And that was only 33 yards.
He didn't even have 10 points. So I think you have to go Noah Fant just to save your sanity as a fantasy owner. Because if you put O.J. Howard in there and lose again, it's awful. If you put Noah Fant and lose, you go, different guy this time at least. Insanity is doing the same thing multiple times and expecting a different result. That's what you're doing this week with O.J. Howard, even if Bryce says that Bruce Arians is going to use him a little bit more in the offense.
I never said he would. I said Bruce Arians said he would.
Bruce Arians said he would. No, but I still think you got to go Fant against Tennessee. The Carolina Panthers defense is very good. Playing in London, which those games are probably going to be a little bit more run heavy. And the Broncos-Titans matchup, I feel like that has a larger potential to be more of a game where either it's high scoring for both teams or the Broncos fall behind early and kind of have to get things going, so they'll target their tight end.
Never know.
Yeah, just who knows.
Noah Fant hasn't done anything right this year. He's losing snap counts.
You know who he has more points than?
O.J. Howard?
Exactly.
It's because he scored.
That means O.J. Howard's done really nothing.
I mean, yeah. O.J. Howard this year is qualified as the worst tight end in blocking.
So he's not doing anything.
Like
right?
He might be the worst. We were having a discussion last night. What do you trade for O.J. Howard in real football? 5th round pick? 6th round pick?
As an NFL team.
As an NFL team.
I landed on a 5th, 6th round pick.
I said 5.
5th round.
I'd still give him like a 3rd or 4th.
That's just too much for me.
Who's still high on the O.J. Howard?
Guy's 23. He's a physical beast. He's a matchup nightmare.
I'm a physical
Someone will
beast.
use him right.
I don't like my chances in the NFL.
That's right. You're DK Metcalf.
That's true.
Yeah, that's right.
Our last question, if you stayed with us this long, is a 12-team PPR league. They're looking for a flex spot. Instead of London, we're going to go out to California because we have Marquise Hollywood Brown, who's taking on the Bengals, and we have Stephon Diggs, whose Vikings are going up against the Eagles. Another Diggs question. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm jumping on with you guys. I'm with Stephon Diggs. You talked about him earlier in the show. Terrible Eagles secondary with a good run defense means Stephon Diggs is probably going to get some targets, some yards, and he's got a chance for a touchdown this week. I got a feeling about Stephon Diggs this week. I think this is a bounce-back week. I don't think Philly has a particularly good defense, like we said. I think Kirk Cousins is going to look for him, as well as Adam Thielen. So I think this week, both of the Vikings pass catchers are startable. And Hollywood Brown, he's injured. He hasn't had great snap counts. He's really pretty much the biggest boomer bust guy this season. And so, I don't know. He does have a good matchup against Cincinnati, so he does have a chance to really go off this week. But I think safer play is Stephon Diggs this week, which is weird to say because Stephon Diggs has been pretty garbage so far. But I think safer play is Stephon Diggs.
I know 3 things for certain in life: death, taxes. Lamar Jackson is not an NFL quarterback.
NFL quarterback.
He's terrible. He's terrible.
Did you forget the word elite?
No, he's terrible. I will never like Lamar Jackson.
We got haters over here.
I hate Lamar Jackson. I do. He's not a quarterback. But, so that being said, Stephon Diggs. Absolutely. I have a feeling, said it earlier, Marquise Brown is also coming in with an injury to this week. It's, I think, undisclosed. But he's coming in a little gimpy. And I think they're going to use Mark Andrews again against a bad Bengals team. And worse comes to worse. I mean, they might go up 21-0 in the first quarter and then just start running with Mark Ingram. Yeah. Game script is going to favor Stephon Diggs over Marquise Brown.
And that also means there's 3 passing touchdowns supposedly to go around.
No, it could still be Gus the Bus.
It's true. It's true. I'm going to agree. I'm going to go Diggs as well. Not feeling Brown. The Bengals defense is sneakily good against wide receivers. They're actually top 5 defense against wide receivers in fantasy this year rather. And with that, I think Stephon Diggs you got to go with against the Eagles defense. Talked about him before. I feel like he's a good option this week. I feel like he's going to come through for you this week, which might be the second time this season. But I think that he's due to come back. Regression to the mean. Can't preach enough of fantasy football. Who you drafted them for a reason. Always remember that reason before you hit that drop or trade button.
Something to do with O.J. Howard. Remembering that reason.
Yeah. And just one more thing. This is a PPR league, so definitely more likely to get more receptions Stephon Diggs than Hollywood Brown.
Neither one of big possession guys, though.
The boom or bust Hollywood Brown. Anyway, gentlemen, that is our first session
live in studio.
Well, live now. Not necessarily live coming to you, but yes, our first studio session is complete. We will do this start-sit every week, and from there we will keep a tally of exactly who's doing best. We started at the beginning of the year, kind of lost track because Amir was helping people in Ecuador. Just what a great guy.
That's what I do, guys. That's what I do.
So we are going to start that for real now, but also to mention, I think the last time I did beat Bryce out. Moving on.
We'll have an updated standings list coming up soon. Yeah,
we will have a new standings list for the rest of the season. That's it. From the One Button Studio, Michael, Bryce, and Amir signing off. See you next time on Between the 20s.